Good morning, friends, and welcome to New Garden Friends meeting. Welcome to worship here. It is a joy to be together again. Friends, you are welcome at New Garden Friends meeting. Whether this is your first time worshiping with us or you've been coming for many years, you are welcome here. Welcome to those who are here in person. Welcome to those who are here on Zoom and on Facebook Live. Everyone is welcome. Good morning again, friends. It is so good to be with you. And I am so grateful for your warm welcome, for everyone who has welcomed me, told me your name, I am learning them, and offered your support. I am feeling a little more grounded here at New Garden Friends meeting. I've been here in the building for 2 weeks, so I'm learning my way around. But I am still finding out new things about this community and all of you every day, and I'm sure that will continue for quite some time. This is a new beginning for me and for you. And so it feels like a good time to meditate on a psalm of faith, confidence, and trust. Last week, I pointed out 3 images of God in Luke: the image of a shepherd, a poor woman, and a parent. And the psalm that we heard for today, Psalm 91, has even more images of God. It begins, "You who live in the shelter of the Most High, who abide in the shadow of the Almighty." So in this first verse, we have 2 images. God who provides shelter and a God who casts a shadow of protection. And it goes on to say, God is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. So that's 2 more, God as a refuge and God as a fortress. So for this psalmist, for the person who wrote this psalm, God is a safe place, a refuge from danger and a strong fortress. And the next image in the psalm is one of my favorites, finding protection under God's wings. The psalmist says, God will cover you with his pinions, and under God's wings you will find refuge. And this is an image that occurs throughout the Bible. Over and over again, we see God as a bird providing protection under God's wings. This comes up in Psalm 32, where the psalmist describes God as an eagle that hovers over its young. And Jesus draws on this image when he says, "How often have I desired to gather your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings." So this is another image of God as a parent, a mother eagle or a hen protecting her young under her wings. And looking at all of these images together, something stands out for me. There are a lot of descriptions of finding safety in dark places, in the shadow of the Almighty, covered by pinions under wings. And this is interesting for me and can be kind of unexpected, because often in the Bible and elsewhere, darkness can be associated with things that are bad or scary or unsettled. But here, darkness is a safe place. Darkness is a place of safety. And it is in these places of darkness that the psalmist encounters God and finds safety. And this seems appropriate for a message right now, because in some ways we are walking out together into the darkness. As your interim pastor, my role is to be with you for the next year or so as you discern together, we listen together. And we'll ask questions like, who are we as a community at New Garden Friends meeting? What do we feel God is calling us to? And ultimately, this discernment, this listening together, will lead you to the person who will be your next settled pastor. That's my role, to help you find that person. But for now, we're in the beginning of this listening together, this stepping out into the darkness together and waiting for our eyes to adjust so that we can see more clearly. And you know what else happens when we walk into the darkness? We might stumble. We will definitely make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes, and I trust that you will encounter them with grace. And I know you will too. We all will. And so just knowing that making mistakes is part of this process. And it's helpful for me, and I hope it is for you, to take a moment to recognize where we are, where we're going, and what's ahead of us. So Psalm 91 goes on to list all sorts of dangerous things, including surprise attack, disease, demonic powers, violence, war. All of these things occur, but the assurance is you will not fear. These things may happen at any time. They happen in the daylight and the darkness. The psalmist lists the terror of the night, or the arrow that flies by day, the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, or the destruction that wastes at noonday. And as I read this, I thought that some of these things seem a lot less theoretical than they might have a few years ago. We are very familiar with a sickness that is in our land, with destruction, with these things that make us afraid. We have seen these things. This is a psalm of assurance, but it doesn't promise that these things won't happen. What the psalmist says instead is that God will be with us. God will be with us in these times of fear, and to be not afraid. And this seems like an especially Quaker psalm to me, because at the end, God responds. This isn't just a psalmist speaking to God or about God. God answers. God speaks. In the first part, the psalmist declares faith, but then there is an answer. God says, "Those who love me, I will deliver. I will protect those who know my name." And then God goes on to say, "When they call to me, I will answer them. I will be with them in times of trouble." God is with us in times of trouble. When we are stumbling in the dark, God is there with us. And so, as we settle into our time of open worship, I invite you to consider the promises of this psalm. That there are many ways that we can know and understand God. That there is safety in dark places, that God finds us there. The reassurance that God is with us when we are in danger. And the belief that we hold as friends, that when we listen, God may speak to us. We believe when we listen together that God may speak to and through anyone here, anyone in the room, anyone on the Zoom. And so I invite you, if you feel led to speak, please do. Please share the message that you have for us, and we will listen.